Helen Hill was an artist, an activist, and a respected member of the New Orleans community. Even after the devastation of Hurricane Katrina, she returned to the city and was eager to rebuild. That was until she had an encounter with a monster. Helen Hill was born on May 9, 1970 in Columbia, South Carolina. At a young age, she started creating short animated films. When she was in the 5th grade, Stan Woodward, a documentary filmmaker who focused on telling stories of the South, visited Helen's class. It was that visit that inspired her to start making her own work at just 11 years old. That same year, Helen created a stop-motion picture which she named The House of Sweet Magic. The short film featured a plastic dinosaur attacking a gingerbread house. She went on to make another stop-motion film on Super 8 with some classmates as part of a statewide filmmaking in the classroom initiative. After graduating from high school, she attended Harvard, where she majored in English and minored in visual and environmental studies. She received a bachelor's degree in 1992 and then moved with a close friend named Paul Galiunas to New Orleans. She and Paul eventually started dating and married in 1994. She then continued her education at the California Institute of Arts and received a Master's of Fine Art in 1995. Then she moved to Halifax, Nova Scotia, where Paul was attending medical school. Since he was a native Canadian, Helen was able to get dual U.S.-Canadian citizenship. While in Halifax, she taught at the Nova Scotia College of Art and Design. When Paul graduated from medical school, the couple returned to New Orleans, and in 2004, Helen gave birth to their son Francis. In New Orleans, Paul was running the Little Doctor's Neighborhood Clinic in Treme, serving anyone who walked through the doors. Helen co-founded the New Orleans Film Collective and taught classes there. In August of 2005, New Orleans was hit with one of the United States' greatest natural disasters, Hurricane Katrina. The tropical cyclone caused multiple sections of the city's levee system to fail, leading to extensive flooding that covered approximately 80% of New Orleans. That left many residents stranded, seeking safety by waiting for help on the tops of their houses. Hundreds lost their lives in the aftermath, many due to drowning and lack of medical care. An estimated 1 million residents were displaced, including Helen and her family. After the storm flooded their mid-city home with 4 feet or 1.2 meters of water, Helen and her family sought refuge in her hometown of Columbia, South Carolina. Although initially planning a brief evacuation, the devastating aftermath of the storm forced them to remain there for a year. Throughout their displacement, Helen's determination to return never wavered. That's when she launched an innovative postcard campaign, rallying friends to convince her hesitant husband about moving back. Subsequently, in August of 2006, exactly 1 year after the hurricane drove them away, the family returned to New Orleans. They settled into a rental property in the Faubourg-Marigny neighborhood, specifically on North Rampart Street. Nevertheless, Paul noticed concerning changes in the city's atmosphere, observing what he said were, quote, huge areas that are kind of ungoverned. On January 4, 2007, at approximately 5:30 a.m., a sequence of events unfolded that would forever alter their lives. Minutes before the tragedy, an attempted robbery occurred at a bed and breakfast just houses away from the Hill Galiunas residence. As officers questioned the establishment's owners about the incident, they heard gunshots echo from the direction of Helen's house. An intruder had encountered Helen near the back door, where she had presumably gone to let out their pet pig. Her frightened voice awakened Paul as she yelled, quote, get out, don't hurt my baby, get out right now. Paul grabbed their 2-year-old son and witnessed a man restraining Helen at the front door. The assailant shot Helen in the neck, then pursued Paul and their child to the back of the house. Although Paul sustained 3 gunshot wounds while shielding their son, both survived the attack. Somehow, the killer escaped and was not apprehended, despite law enforcement being on the same street when the murder occurred. Paul desperately tried to save his beloved Helen, giving her CPR while he waited for emergency services, but it was too late. Helen had died from the gunshot wound to her neck. The investigation faced immediate challenges. Initially, homicide detectives handled Helen's death separately from the district detectives investigating the nearby burglary, overlooking potential connections between the incidents. The only description released identified the suspect as a black male, approximately 5 foot 6 inches or 167 centimeters tall, with a close-cropped afro haircut. The NOPD's cold case unit under Sergeant Daniel McMullen acknowledged the investigation had been short-sighted. That said, the New Orleans Police Department was also operating from makeshift facilities that hindered their ability to process evidence effectively. The department's infrastructure suffered severe damage from Hurricane Katrina, resulting in the loss of central evidence storage. Investigators resorted to storing crucial case evidence in 18-wheel trailers. Lieutenant Mike Glasser, a 27-year veteran officer, described working from FEMA trailers situated on tennis courts in City Park. The absence of a proper crime laboratory significantly impacted the processing of forensic evidence. DNA analysis from the case remained unprocessed for months after the incident. The police department's capabilities were additionally strained by the loss of more than 500 active officers following Hurricane Katrina, approximately 30% of the force. The investigation encountered additional obstacles as potential witnesses refused to come forward. In 2006, police made arrests in only 1/3 of the city's 162 homicide cases, with merely 5 resulting in convictions. The reluctance to testify stemmed from widespread fear among residents, as criminals often returned to the streets shortly after arrest. Young witnesses particularly expressed concerns about jeopardizing their family's safety. The federal government eventually recognized the severity of the crisis, allocating $50 million in emergency supplemental funding for the Gulf Coast region. Still, bureaucratic hurdles persisted as federal law required the city to repay any borrowed funds within 3 years, thereby limiting the pace of infrastructure reconstruction. Those systematic challenges ultimately affected the department's ability to investigate complex cases effectively, including the murder of Helen Hill. Of course, like many murders, the spouse was the first suspect. Police Superintendent Warren Riley publicly suggested Paul might be a suspect, claiming non-cooperation. However, DNA evidence processed months after the incident conclusively excluded him from suspicion. The brutal murder of Helen, alongside other violent incidents in early 2007, ignited an unprecedented grassroots response from New Orleans residents. A spate of killings, including 5 other murders on January 4th and the death of Hot 8 brass band member Daenerys Shavers a week earlier, galvanized the community into action. Community organizers established the nonprofit organization Silence is Violence after coordinating a massive march to City Hall. The demonstration, originally expected to draw dozens, instead attracted thousands of concerned citizens from neighborhoods across New Orleans. The movement established itself as a crucial resource for homicide victims' families, offering guidance through the complex criminal justice system and addressing trauma-related needs often overlooked by government agencies. The death of a woman like Helen left a bitter taste in the mouths of many New Orleans residents who loved her so dearly. If someone like Helen could have her life ripped away from her in a senseless act like this, what chance did the rest have? David Cohen, a writer and close friend of Helen's, wrote of her passing saying, quote, "My dear friend Helen Hill has left the city she loved. Last summer, Paul, Helen, and her son came back to town. Last week I stood in front of their home, before the altar that has grown by the front steps. I can't tell you how guilty I feel. I had repeatedly told Paul the violence of New Orleans was nothing to be scared of. Now Helen is gone, and Paul probably is out of here for good." In 2008, Helen was posthumously awarded Robert Flaherty's Film Seminar's Charles Samu Award for animators whose work shows, quote, "a universal message illuminating our sense of world community." When Helen was murdered, she was in the process of creating an animated film about hand-sewn dresses she found in the garbage back in 2001. Paul and Helen's friends finished the piece in 2011. It's titled The Florstein Collection, and it was awarded the Short Documentary Award at the Doxa Documentary Film Festival. In response to mounting police pressure, the reward for information about Helen's murder increased substantially. Jake Hill, Helen's brother, successfully advocated for raising the initial $3,500 award to $15,000 through additional Crime Stopper funds and private donations. The enhanced reward aimed to encourage potential witnesses to come forward with information that could lead to an arrest and an indictment. Police Superintendent Warren Riley and Jake Hill maintain their belief that individuals with crucial information about the case remain silent. Nonetheless, after 17 years, the case continues unsolved. The reward structure specified that payment would be divided, with half dispersed upon arrest and the remaining portion following indictment. Helen Hill's murder stands as a stark reminder of New Orleans' struggle with violent crime during its post-Katrina recovery. The case exposed critical weaknesses in the city's damaged law enforcement infrastructure, while police operated from FEMA trailers and stored evidence in makeshift facilities. Consequently, crucial investigative opportunities were lost, leaving the case unsolved. The $15,000 Crime Stoppers reward still awaits anyone who can provide information leading to an arrest and a conviction. Though time has passed, the impact of Helen's murder continues to shape discussions about crime, community response, and law enforcement capabilities in post-disaster recovery situations. The case serves as both a cautionary tale about infrastructure preparedness and a testament to community solidarity during crises. Thanks so much for letting me tell you this story. If you're a fan of true crime, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss an episode. You can also hit like or leave a comment. If you'd like to support the show, check out our merchandise at thisismonsters.com. The link is in the description. Thanks again, and be safe.